Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, Tesla is preparing to swallow the trucking industry whole. AI coding tools are creating way more problems than they solve, and a $30 baseball bet just broke a sports book.
Yeah, the wire is completely chaotic today.
It really is.
But there is a very clear thread connecting all these signals. We are watching the complete erosion of the slow and steady economy. Everywhere you look, the middle ground is just collapsing, and we are being pushed into this system of extreme variance.
Right, exactly. So let's start right there, looking at how the underlying mechanics of capital and labor are fundamentally altering. So Sawyer Merritt posted this major update from Tesla's Q1 2026 earnings deck.
Oh, the semi.
Yes, the Tesla Semi is officially in pilot production. We're seeing footage of these fleets parked near the Nevada factory, and they're targeting 50,000 units a year when fully ramped.
Which is massive.
Right. At an average selling price around $280,000. That is $14 billion a year in new revenue. And at the exact same time, SpaceX confirmed the deployment of 25 more Starlink satellites, pushing their total past 11,891 in orbit.
The scale is staggering. I mean, it really is. But if you want to understand how this is actually happening, you have to look at the financial architecture Elon Musk has built across these entities. Like, Jason Calacanis posted a defense of Musk using SpaceX to provide loans and liquidity for his other companies.
Right. He argued this is completely standard venture capital practice, right?
Yeah, exactly. He noted he's invested in 700 private companies, and moving resources around is just how you enable founders to win. User Affogatalux even had a cheeky reply saying, let's make it 701.
I get the theory of venture capital, I really do. But walk me through how that cross-company liquidity actually functions in practice at this scale. Like, how do you use a rocket company to fund an AI or automotive venture?
Well, it really comes down to leveraging private equity as collateral. So if you own a massive percentage of SpaceX, which is highly valued but not publicly traded, you don't want to sell those shares and lose control to get cash.
That makes sense.
Instead, you pledge those private shares to financial institutions as collateral for a massive loan. You take that liquid cash and you inject it into your new venture.
Wow.
You're essentially borrowing against the future success of one monopoly to fund the creation of the next one. It's incredibly capital efficient.
But it also sounds like a precarious balancing act. I mean, if the valuation of the anchor company takes a hit, doesn't that trigger margin calls that could, dry up liquidity across the entire ecosystem?
That is the systemic risk, yes. If one pillar wobbles, the interconnected debt obligations could cascade. But let's look at the immediate second-order effects of that capital efficiency actually working.
Okay.
Take the Tesla Semi. For a corporate logistics giant like Walmart or Amazon, this is a dream. The per-mile cost of electricity versus diesel is incredibly low. But think about the independent trucking labor market.
You mean the owner-operators, like the men and women who own a single diesel rig and contract out their services?
Exactly, because they operate on what's called the spot rate for freight, which is the current real-time market price to move a load from point A to point B.
Right.
If corporate fleets are suddenly moving freight at a fraction of the cost using electric semis, the overall spot rate is going to crash. The market will just demand lower shipping prices.
Which means an independent trucker driving a traditional rig simply will not be able to cover their diesel fuel and maintenance costs at those new lower rates.
Exactly. The technology creates corporate efficiency, but it destroys an entire class of working-class labor.
That economic squeeze naturally leads to questions about who is actually protecting these workers and what the financial incentives are for the lawmakers who are supposed to be regulating these industries. Unusual Whales highlighted a statement from Representative Lauren Boebert.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, she claimed that her refusal to trade stocks is her one moral standard in Congress, leaving her with no money.
Well, the political framing of it being a moral standard immediately sparked a debate about the actual mechanics of congressional trading. A user named Gary Halpin23 jumped into the replies, completely bypassing the political grandstanding to focus on the structure of the STO Act.
Right, because currently lawmakers have to disclose trades over $1,000, but they get a 30-day window after the trade happens to report it.
Yeah.
And Gary is pushing for a 3-day advance notice requirement. But explain to me why that 30-day delay is so critical. I would assume that even a 30-day delay eventually brings the trade to light. Wouldn't an advance notice rule just trigger a wave of public front-running, where trading bots instantly copy a senator's trades before they execute.
I mean, front-running is a risk, sure. But the current 30-day delay enables something far more insidious, which is shadow trading. Let's say a lawmaker sits on a defense committee and learns in a closed-door briefing that a major contract is shifting away from a certain aerospace company.
Okay, so they have insider info.
Right. They immediately short that company's stock. The market doesn't know about the shift and won't see the disclosure for a month. A week later, the contract news goes public, the stock plummets. The lawmaker quietly closes their short position for a massive profit.
And by the time the disclosure hits 20 days later, the event is entirely in the rearview mirror.
Exactly. The profit was locked in using asymmetric information. An advance notice requirement completely flips that dynamic, forcing lawmakers to telegraph their moves before the market reacts.
That structural advantage at the top feels intrinsically linked to the growing pessimism at the bottom. 60 Minutes just ran a feature with former Senator Ben Sasse, and he delivered a very stark warning that the AI and digital revolutions are entirely ending the assumption of lifelong careers.
Yeah, he was pretty blunt about it.
Very blunt. He explicitly stated that we've never lived in a world where a 22-year-old couldn't assume their work would last until retirement, and we never will again.
The replies on that post were fierce, though. People correctly pointed out that recessions, globalization, and factory automation ended the concept of the 40-year gold watch career decades ago.
That's a fair point.
But Sasse is touching on a broader institutional breakdown, which David Sachs expanded on brilliantly over on the All In podcast. Sachs argued that NGOs and nonprofits actually manufacture or perpetuate problems to stay in business because they lack a market feedback loop.
Right. Chamath brought up the Southern Poverty Law Center during that discussion, questioning why they shifted their focus toward broader cultural narratives rather than specific localized poverty issues.
Exactly. Sachs's premise was that once civil rights groups achieved massive goals, like the election of Barack Obama, they didn't declare victory. Instead, they moved the goalposts to equality of results and introduced new terminology to keep the mission going.
I struggle to accept that premise at face value. I mean, it feels wildly cynical to look at decades-old civil rights organizations and claim they operate like a Silicon Valley SaaS startup desperately chasing quarterly recurring revenue. Are you suggesting they actively want people to remain marginalized?
Not actively, no.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, the survival instinct of the organization just takes over.
Okay.
When there is no free market pricing mechanism to punish inefficiency or reward a finalized solution, the organization's primary product ceases to be the solution itself. The primary product becomes fundraising.
Ah, I see.
And to fundraise effectively, you need an ongoing, urgent crisis. So the definition of the crisis must continually expand to justify the payroll. It's a structural trap.
Well, that idea of an organization being trapped by its own bad incentives perfectly describes what is happening in enterprise technology right now. We constantly hear macro fears about AI automating away software engineers, but the ground-level reality of building this tech is turning into a nightmare.
Oh, absolutely.
Gary Marcus posted that programmers are actually returning to hand coding because AI is, quote, slopifying code bases.
Slopifying is the exact right term. I mean, we are witnessing a hype cycle crash in real time. Large language models don't think in terms of elegant, efficient software architecture.
No, they just predict text.
Right. They simply predict the next most likely token based on their training data. As a result, AI coding assistants generate code that is highly verbose, lacks proper abstraction, and is incredibly difficult to debug.
There's a viral meme from user Emic1412 that captures this perfectly. It is a video of a guy dramatically lighting a massive cigar with a literal industrial blowtorch. The caption reads, using Quad Opus 4.7 to center a DV.
That's amazing.
Now, for anyone who isn't a web developer, a div is just a basic invisible box used to organize content on a web page. Centering it is a day one formatting task. Using the most advanced AI model on the planet to do it is absurd computational overkill.
It's a funny joke, but it highlights a very expensive reality for corporations. Companies are paying astronomical API costs for what amounts to a bloated autocomplete tool.
Right.
They bought into the hype early, fired their junior developers to save cash, and let AI write their infrastructure. Now they are left with a tangled mess of spaghetti code. Technical debt that is so convoluted, senior engineers have to spend hundreds of expensive hours just untangling it. The initial productivity gains of AI are completely wiped out by the long-term maintenance costs.
So if software is becoming this cheap, invisible, slightly messy commodity, where is the engineering talent going?
They are running in the opposite direction.
Exactly. We are seeing a profound hardware renaissance. Dylan Patel from Semi-Analysis called a coffee shop meetup in New York with just 3 hours' notice, and over 50 people showed up. One attendee literally brought a physical gigabyte GPU for Dylan to sign.
A signed graphics processing unit. That tells you everything about where the cultural cachet resides right now.
It really does. I look at it like the vinyl record revival, but for the tech sector, people are craving tactile, physical things because the software layer has evaporated into the cloud. The Gameverse just leaked an early review of the 2026 Steam controller.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah, it's priced at $99, features dual trackpads for mouse-like precision, and it uses anti-drift TMR sensors instead of standard Hall effect sticks.
This is a crucial engineering detail because for years, controllers used potentiometers, which are physical carbon tracks that wear down over time, causing the dreaded stick drift where your character moves without you touching the controller.
Which is infuriating.
Beyond infuriating. Hall effect sensors fix some of this by using magnets to measure distance without physical contact. But TMR, or tunneling magnetoresistance, operates at the atomic level.
Wow.
It measures the quantum tunneling effect of electrons through a microscopic magnetic barrier. It is incredibly precise, draws a fraction of the power, and essentially never degrades.
That is fascinating, and it requires real-world physics, not just a good prompt. We're seeing this reverence for physical engineering and spatial computing as well.
Yeah.
Trungfan posted a bit of history revealed by Palmer Luckey. Apple's new CEO, John Ternus, spent 4 years in the late 90s as a lead mechanical engineer on the Virtual Research V8 VR headset before joining Apple in 2001.
You have 1990s head-mounted display DNA driving the world's most valuable company today. That illustrates the hard economic reality underneath your final analogy.
How so?
Well, software is entirely commoditized. If you write an app today, I can have an AI clone its functionality in an afternoon, but I cannot prompt an AI to instantly manufacture a dual trackpad controller with TMR sensors or a high-resolution VR headset.
Right, you need a factory for that.
Exactly. Physical engineering is the only defensible moat left in technology. If you can bend metal, manufacture silicon, and manage a global supply chain, you have real power.
Even Apple's software is trying to feel more physical. User Aaron P613 spotted Apple reviving the classic animated Face ID mascot for their new Apple Pay ads. It's a tactile, expressive, almost nostalgic interface element in an increasingly automated world.
Which brings us to how all of this tech and capital variance is bleeding into human behavior. Let's talk about the extremes. Darren Ravel reported on a bettor who wagered just $30 on the Hard Rock Bet app.
The baseball one.
Yes, it was a 6-leg home run parlay. 6 specific players all had to hit a home run in their respective baseball games. The odds were plus 6,576,031.
Just insane odds. And it hit. That $30 bet turned into $1.86 million in under 2 hours.
It is an incredible story of statistical variance. But look at the incentive structure of the sportsbook. Hard Rock Bet gladly paid out nearly $2 million because they just bought tens of millions of dollars in free public relations.
Yeah, that's true.
They will plaster this story across every screen to sell the illusion of easy wealth to everyday people who will now happily drain their bank accounts $30 at a time, trying to replicate a statistical impossibility. The house always wins, especially when they lose publicly.
But variance works in both directions, right? User Fearedbuck reported on a Polish streamer named Łatwogang. He just concluded a 9-day, 24/7 live stream where he raised over 250 million złoty, which translates to over $60 million for the Cancer Fighters Foundation, supporting children battling cancer.
Wow.
It is officially the largest charity live stream in history.
Now, contrast that with our earlier discussion about traditional NGOs. You have a massive nonprofit apparatus that takes months, armies of staff, and millions in overhead to organize a single fundraising gala.
Right.
And then you have a decentralized creator, literally a guy sitting in a room with a camera, who dramatically outperforms those legacy institutions by mobilizing a hyper-engaged digital community. It proves that when you remove bureaucratic friction, capital can flow directly to a cause with terrifying efficiency.
But that same digital reach is creating incredibly bizarre intersections of class, power, and desperation. User Jack posted a clip about Jeff Allen, the winner of Mr. Beast's Beast Games reality show.
Yeah, I saw this one.
During the show, Jeff used his late-night phone access, which was meant to be a strategic advantage for the game, to direct message Elon Musk on X. He was desperately trying to find a cure for his son's rare genetic disorder, creatine transporter deficiency.
Yeah.
He didn't get him on the phone, but Elon actually replied the next day.
See, if you step back from the viral feel-good nature of that clip, it is a profoundly dystopian reality regarding modern healthcare. Your best bet for curing a rare genetic disease is no longer the medical establishment or government grants.
Right, what is it?
Your best bet is winning a reality game show hosted by a YouTuber, so you can acquire enough digital clout to direct message a billionaire who happens to own a brain-computer interface company. The traditional safety net is gone, replaced entirely by viral lottery tickets.
That is a chilling way to frame it, but honestly, it's accurate. Technology is completely shattering traditional human limits, even physical ones. Trung T. Fan posted about the London Marathon 2026. Sebastian Saw and Yomif Kajacha both broke the 2-hour mark. Tix Seifa shattered the women's record. They all did it wearing the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro Evo 3.
The super shoe.
Exactly. It's a shoe that weighs just 97 grams for a men's size 9.
Let's examine the mechanics of that shoe, because 97 grams is almost incomprehensible for footwear absorbing the impact of a 26-mile race. Traditional running shoes use thick EVA foam to simply absorb shock.
Okay.
These new super shoes use a hyper-light, ultra-resilient foam embedded with rigid carbon fiber rods. So, when a runner's foot strikes the ground, the foam compresses, but the carbon rods act as a mechanical fulcrum. They bend and then violently snap back into place, literally launching the runner forward.
So it's not just padding, it is an active mechanical springboard returning kinetic energy to the runner.
Precisely. And the engineering has advanced so far that regulatory bodies are facing an existential crisis. They have to decide where the human biology ends and the technology begins. Is the athlete breaking the record, or is the carbon fiber breaking the record?
We are artificially extending human endurance through material science.
Exactly.
Let's ground this back at the local level. Because amidst all this global variance, we have two amazing community stories that show how environment dictates behavior. Todd Spence shared a video from a New Jersey high school drama club.
Oh, the alien play.
Yes, the students put on a live stage adaptation of the sci-fi horror movie Alien. They didn't just put on a play, they built a full, practical, terrifying xenomorph suit that stalked through the audience under dramatic blue lighting. The clips went so viral that Sigourney Weaver herself showed up to watch their production.
Which is amazing. The constraints of a high school budget actually forced them to be more creative and practical than most modern Hollywood studios.
And speaking of local environments pushing limits, Andrew Huberman weighed in on a ranking that named San Diego the most in-shape city in the U.S. He credited it directly to the massive military and ex-military population.
Makes sense.
He noted that he never saw gyms so completely packed at 5 a.m. as when he lived there, driven entirely by the strict habits and discipline of military culture bleeding into the civilian population.
See, those two stories are two sides of the exact same coin. Whether it is a high school drama club refusing to accept the mediocre standards of budget theater, or an entire city adopting the relentless 5 a.m. discipline of the armed forces, local culture is the ultimate driving force.
For sure.
You are the product of the standards set by the people immediately around you.
What an incredible through line we've uncovered today. We started by looking at the billions of dollars shifting in the trucking industry due to Tesla's capital leverage. We dissected the mechanical failures of AI software that are driving engineers back to tactile, physical hardware. And we journeyed through a culture where $30 bets, high school xenomorphs, and $60 million charity streams are the new normal.
It all comes back to incentives. So my prediction for tomorrow based on these specific trends, given the massive enterprise backlash against bloated, slopified AI code and the undeniable cultural reverence we are seeing for anti-drift controllers and physical engineering, watch the venture capital markets.
Okay, what's the pivot?
I predict we will see a rapid pivot. VCs will start pulling funding away from thin AI software wrappers and begin pouring billions back into hard tech, physical infrastructure, and robotics. Software is saturated. The physical world is the only defensible frontier left.
That is a fundamental shift in the tech economy to watch out for. And for you listening, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today. Think back to our opening discussion with Ben Sass, who warned that the 40-year slow and steady career path is dead. If a Polish streamer can crowdsource $60 million in a week from a bedroom, and a bettor can extract nearly $2 million from a sportsbook with pocket change, are we entering an economy where traditional incremental progress is a myth? And if the middle ground is truly gone, is the only way left to survive to learn how to harness extreme viral variance? Something to think about. That is all the time we have for today's deep dive. Stay sharp, keep your vibe in check, and we will catch you back here tomorrow.